Hello, welcome along.
Good evening.
Good evening. Well, we seem to be missing one of us. He's still playing in that new Scania of his, isn't he?
I reckon so. To be fair, I don't blame him.
Yeah, there is. I mean, it is quite fun. Let's be fair about it. Oh, I've just had a message. On his way. So,
Whee.
goodness knows, he's
Right.
probably broken down. It is a brand new Scania.
When you break down in a Scania, you do get a free first aid kit, a Scania branded water bottle, and anyway, let's
Well,
carry
that
on.
really says a lot of faith for how Scanias break down and kill you, really, doesn't it?
They kind of expect it.
Yeah, they expect you need have first aid and what have you. Oh, we've got everyone's here already. Who've we got? Trucking Adventures evening, mate. How are you? We've got Rach, the hired wife's son. Trucker Taz.
Good evening.
Yeah, good evening, guys. Well, it's a beautiful evening where I am. How's it with you tonight, Will?
Yeah, it's absolutely
We might
stunning.
as well do some filler whilst we're waiting for Dazz to join us. I mean, let's be fair about it. Well,
yeah, absolutely gorgeous here. I've got the bedroom windows wide open.
Are you hiding in your bedroom again?
I love it in my bedroom.
The only thing you're missing is some mixing desks.
A bit of fake bedroom scratch.
Right. James is on as well. Hey, James, how are you, mate? Nice to see you. Hi, Sue. Everyone's here. This is great news. This is what we'd like to hear. Right.
Fantastic.
So tonight's topic. Well, tonight's topic is an interesting one. The government. Well, talk for a minute. I've just got to sort some. I'm getting blinded here.
Blinded by the light. Yeah. So tonight's topic it's kind of a dual topic. It's talking about the extended driving hours that we're now allowed to do.
Yeah.
Which will kind of coincide with the driver shortage that we're going through. That cab looks very big, Pete.
Oh, guys, hang on a minute.
I must say, it does look really posh there, Pete.
It does look a bit posh. Yeah, no two ways about it. But right, that's better. Oh, that's better. Right, I'm not being blinded by lights. Well, I'll give everyone a clue as to what's been going on. I am on not one, but two of those. So I haven't been driving for a while. I've been off work for the last 2 weeks. I've got 2 more weeks to go. For those of you who don't know, I made a very silly mistake on Christmas Eve. I have another slip of tea to explain this. It's hard work. So at Christmas, I made a mistake. I made a very, very schoolboy error. I slipped off the back of a trailer in the ice and the snow. And it basically means that I had to have my knee repaired. So 2 weeks ago, what you up to, Will? 2 weeks ago, I went into hospital and I had I had my knee fixed. So I've had, thanks, Daddy, lovely captain, no parrot. And yeah, I don't exactly have lots of parrots. I had 3 ligaments replaced in my left knee, which means that my knee is not weight bearing. So just at the moment, for the next couple of weeks, I'm off work. I will be back on the road, terrorizing the nation as soon as I'm allowed to. But at the moment, the inconsiderate lot in the hospital have taken my driving license away. So until I've got that back, I'm stuck. So yes, I'm currently in residence, staying with my sister, which is fantastic, and I'm being very well looked after. And yeah, but it's just a long old road now. I've got crutches for a while, and yeah, but it'll get there, won't it? Will.
Now, let's hope so. Yeah, it's not good for somebody that
number 3.
Dazz,
where are you, Dazz? We miss you. Well, I think we get into carry on and
yeah,
let's just get into it. So, driver rules. Let's look at the driver hours. So the government announced this week that we will be having a temporary relaxation. He's here. Hey, Dazz. We were just about to get into it without you because we were wondering where you got to.
Yeah, I was literally just having a nightmare reversing. You know, we all have those days, don't we, when you sort of just forget how to reverse.
You knew how to reverse in the first place?
Don't tell everyone that.
Yes, well, Daz, it can't be helped, mate, can it?
No.
Have you had a good day, though? Despite
it's been blinding. It's been good. Yeah, it has been good.
Oh.
I've just managed to open the book as well in my nice new fridge.
What?
Scan your fridge. Extra cold, is it?
Sorry. It is extra cold. Yeah. Do you want to see the angry chicken? I'll show you the angry chicken.
We're going to anyway, aren't we?
Yeah.
I kind of hope it bites him. That's
How are you, Will?
No, I can't.
I was all good until you started rubbing your scanner in my face.
My bad.
Is there a bit of jealousy going on there, Will?
Not a little bit, no, a huge amount. Can you tell?
I don't know. Daz, is it clean again? Did you clean it since we saw it earlier? We had a video chat earlier, guys, when we were talking about doing this live stream. And Daz decided to get out and show off the outside of his new Scania. But we've come to the conclusion that actually he still hasn't quite learned how to keep it nice and clean yet.
I have. I'm just helping join the live stream.
Oh dear, you did, yes.
I have learned to keep it clean. I've just given it its first shower. Actually,
it rained.
And everything.
It rained. Anyway, right. Should we get into topic, guys? Let's talk about these extended driver hours. So, the government have announced that we are allowed to have extra driving hours. What does that mean? What have we got to do? And how are we going to do it? So if I just give a quick rundown and then we can discuss opinions on all of this. So the allowance now is that 2 days a week you can extend to 11 hours driving time. 3 days a week, you can extend your drive time to 10 hours. However, and this is where it becomes a bit more interesting, your employer or traffic manager must inform the DFT prior to you extending your hours. So you can't just go off and do it. You actually have to inform the DFT that you are going to do it. And that will allow you to have your extra drive time. So in a real world sense, let's talk about what that means. So for day drivers, well, that's your department.
That'll be me.
Yes. So for a day driver as you, Will, tell me what that's going to mean implications wise for you.
Well, actually, for me, it's not going to make a lot of difference, to be honest. Because I work with the high abs and that sort of stuff. My driving day is only a very small section of my working day. A lot of my time is spent out of the cab, actually doing other work, other duties. So yeah, work time is normally way before my drive time.
So I think what we should point out here is that it is a drive time extension, not a working time extension. So that still means you only have your standard 15s and your standard 13s, which you are allowed to work to. So, Daz, you do a few more hours than Will.
Yeah, the thing is with us, because it's always on the contract that I'm on, it would be hard to actually go over the 9 hours, 10 hours driving anyway. There's only 2 runs that we do where you actually get anywhere close to 10 hours. So for me personally, it's not really an issue, but for the guys that are on general haulage, I would say, is it going to help them? Will they want to do it? No, I don't think they will want to do it. But I guess, yeah, it might help them out on the odd occasion. I don't think it's going to be useful to them, though.
I have to say, if I was actually back in the driving seat and I was actually working, I think I would probably make use of this quite a lot, especially when I'm doing the longer distance stuff. So, for instance, if I've got my longer days where I'm going down to the southeast from the northwest, it will enable me to get another hour back up the road, which actually on a good run down south would enable me to get home of an evening, which, let's face it, that's always a good idea.
Pete, would you agree that from a driver's point of view, using that extra hour, it's only really going to benefit you as the driver, not necessarily what it was actually laid out to do? I mean, it's laid out and they say that there should be a 15% increase. I believe it's 15% increase in loads delivered. Do you think that using that extra hour that you're actually going to get an extra load or 2 loads done? Or is it just going to guarantee you getting home on a Friday by the end of the week as it progresses, gets you back for a Friday rather than running in on a Saturday morning?
Well, that's a really interesting one, because I think overall your load count, given an extra 2 hours during the normal working week, sorry, I'm talking absolute rubbish, effectively an extra 5 hours in your driving time over the working week. If you're on trailer swaps, for instance, so you're just grabbing a box, running it to a destination, grabbing another box, and then running out again, where you're not making use of your full working time capital, but you are making use of every driving hour you've got, I think it will make a very big difference, yes. However, that only really works in the company's favor.
Yes.
Because the reality of it is that as a driver, we can only work 15 hours a day, 13 hours a day on the other days. So when you hit that 15 hours, you've got to stop anyway. When you're 13 hours, you've got to stop anyway. So it doesn't actually, as drivers, allow us any more drive time as it was. And actually, Tom, exec for access. Hi, Tom. Nice to see you. Tom puts out a very, very clear point here. If you're doing that many driving hours, you're going to bust your 2 weekly period. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, 2 weekly period is a maximum driving hours of 90 hours during a 2 week period. So that means you can only do a maximum of 45 hours on either week. You can obviously do slightly more on one week and less on the next week, but that 90 hours barrier is the one you're going to hit. So
yeah.
So I think it's very interesting that this is supposed to be a solution to driver shortage, whereas actually the reality of it is it's just hammering the existing drivers for more hours.
Yeah.
The reality of it. Go on.
And effectively, you're now putting more tired drivers out on the road. We're now running more tired, which means we're now more of a danger to an extent. Your mind's not in the game as much driving for 11 hours a day, regardless of who you are or what you are. You're not 100% on the ball after 11 hours. So you're now a danger. You're now running even more tired. You can then reduce to a 9-hour rest and start again. Is that not just going to drive more drivers out of the industry rather than it's certainly not going to entice more people in, I don't think.
No, I think you're right. And I mean, it's like, just look at me just now. I've done a lot of driving today rather than working time. So I've like, I can't remember how many it was I did now. I did look, but I've done quite a lot of driving today. And by the end of the day, when I parked up after 12 hours, I couldn't get into this bay. The bay that I'm in, it's so simple to do. Just couldn't do it. You know, like when you have those brain fart and you're like, oh, God.
Yeah.
And then being tired makes it worse. And you're like, oh, God, no, I'm just getting frustrated. 4 shunts. Normally, I'd come in here. I know the yard. It's my yard. Well, not my yard, but, you know, it's a regular yard. So normally, 1 hit, straight in. But
right. Tom's just put up a really interesting comment on that, Dazz. So a standard working week for an office person is 38 hours, is it?
36, 38, yeah.
36, 38. So, Tom, this week, we're on Tuesday today already. Tom has done 2 10-hour drives. Okay, so that's 20 hours he's done already. If, with the rules change, Tom does then he's done 2 11-hour drives, so he takes it up to 22 hours. By the time he's worked tomorrow, his driving hours, he's near as damn it, on an average working person's week by the time it's Wednesday evening. I mean, that's
That's just drive time.
And that's just drive time. That's not unloading. That's not faffing around. That's not driver checks. That's none of the other stuff that we have to do. Cleaning out. I know Tom has to clean the bed of his truck out when he's doing, or Dazz, you have to sweep your deck down. Will, you have to make sure everything's strapped down properly, all that kind of stuff. I mean, if you've got a big load on, which has got to be strapped, you can be putting anything up to 26 straps, 28, 30 straps on. So by the time you've done that, and then you add 11 hours driving into the mix, the guys are going to be wrecked. I suspect what we'll see out of this, and this is only an opinion, but I suspect we'll see far more driver-based errors from individuals pushing their times, personally.
Oh,
most definitely. Now, this question point that's just been made by Trucking Adventures, did the government forget about the 90-hour rule? Now, I haven't read that far into because as I say, it's not really going to affect me, so I haven't delved that far into it. But has the 90-hour rule been extended as well, or does that still stand as 90?
I'm just reading it now, and let me read it and quote it from the government website. The requirement to take weekly rest periods of 45 hours in a 2-week period with an alternative pattern of weekly rest periods is specified below. An increase to the fortnightly driving limit from 90 hours to 99 hours. This enables 2 consecutive reduced weekly rest periods to be taken. So, what does that mean? Let's translate that little spiel into English. Effectively, in a 2-week period, they've added another 9 hours drive time. So, yes, they haven't. No, they haven't forgotten about the 90-hour rule. They've increased it to 99. However, I would love to see people do 99 driving hours in 4 weeks and still be human. I think you'll see a wreck of human beings out there. I mean, Dazz, you see a lot of the guys that we don't often see in some of the RDCs, don't you?
Yeah.
And they're going to be, I mean, the impact on them is going to be massive.
Oh God, yeah, it's going to be. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, now we're saying about the driver shortage in the last blog we did. You were specifically, and the thing is, if somebody said, "Yeah, I want to be a lorry driver," and then you know what's it like, and you said, "Well, you got to drive 100 hours you can drive 100 hours every fortnight, and you got to do 3 15s, 2 13s every week. Oh, and by the way, you can now drive extra hours." I'll be honest, I love my job, but I would not now be a lorry driver. There's no way I'd do it.
So, yeah, I mean, another classic example is Trucker Chris. We all know Trucker Chris hasn't put out much recently, although I think he's just put out a review of some sat-navs, I think, hasn't he done recently? Didn't I hear on the grapevine? I was talking to him about it because, as we all know, they have their podcast and they've been doing a lot of research and been chatting to some other people about this. So just a quick plug for them. Just Another Trucking Podcast. It's on Spotify, Google, Red Circle, all the usual places. However, Chris does big hours. Bit like Tom. Tom and Chris both max their hours out as often as is possible. Now, I do know that Tom maxed his hours out last week. And he was finished by Thursday evening, effectively, or Thursday afternoon, because he had done maximum driving hours. I also happen to know that by the time Saturday morning came around, he was shattered.
Yes.
Now, I'm sure that Tom will comment on this in a minute. So, there we go. So it was a Tom review that Chris has just done. So if you have a watch, I think that podcast is coming out on Monday, is it?
It'll be Monday, won't it?
So have a listen to that, because it's quite an interesting take on the whole perspective. I mean, Trucker Chris, bless him, he now has got his oversize certificates. Don't know if you two had heard about this.
No, I
No.
don't.
So Chris has now got his STGO. Is it STGO? Is that right?
Yes.
Heavy haul.
Yeah.
Heavy haul scenario. So, and this is where the 11 hours and the 10 hours thing comes in really into play. Driving a wide load on an extended trailer that's over maximum weight takes a lot of concentration. Dazz, you know what I'm talking about when you're going down the back roads to the building sites delivering was it you were delivering last year when you had, what was that vlog where you were delivering to that building site? Was it
Yeah. Oh God, I can't remember where it was now. I know the one you mean.
Anyway,
But
it takes a lot of brain power to keep the truck on the road, not damaged, and going where you need to be, and not stuck.
Yeah.
So,
and the load safe.
and the load safe, of course, and the pedestrians. Go on.
This could potentially help these guys out, because a lot of the time they're moving a lot slower than other people are. So, like, you know, I'm restricted to 56, and I think we all three of us are. But you know, these guys are
Irish overdrive.
Thereabouts, give or take.
Some of us. But you know, they're doing 45 sometimes on the motorway because of the weight, the size, the length. You know, so that means that they can cover more ground by using that extra hour. But would they really want to?
I can't
know I
imagine
wouldn't
having
want
to focus that hard for 11 hours in a driving period. I would be wrecked.
See, the other with where it comes down to money and stuff, for those of us that are hourly paid, okay, we would see a gain of some description maybe from that. But
we wouldn't. Well,
it depends on how your day is, really, doesn't it? If you're drive break, if you're going from one end of the country to the other, you possibly would, because there are times where you run out of drive time, but you've still got work time available or whatever. But if you're on a day rate, for instance, so you're just getting 140, 160 pound a day regardless, you're now going to be doing an extra hour's worth of driving for absolutely no gain whatsoever, apart from you're going to be more tired and more of a danger on the road.
Well, a really interesting comment from Tom there. Started on a Sunday afternoon, got to Thursday, he'd already done 50 hours. So that means this week he's only got 40 hours to drive anyway, bonus. But if that had been with these added hours, that'd be 55 hours driving in a week.
Yeah.
I mean, that's insane. Are they trying to... I can't get my head around it. I think it's bonkers. Absolutely bonkers. I just think that actually, overall, what they need to do is make an industry standard for the wages. So the wages hit a certain mark on an industry standard. Everybody knows where they stand. So the minimum, I mean, but also maintaining the fact that drivers get cared about. So for instance, there's a temperature guideline, isn't there? So you don't work in an environment
over a certain
temperature, isn't it? Well, why would you extend the hours for the few drivers that are already on the road, when actually the problem is that you increase the wages, therefore increase the number of people on the road, i.e. the number of drivers on the road, which then lightens the load on everybody, reduces the pressure, because I don't know about you two, but certainly I find myself feeling a lot of pressure to ensure that the loads are delivered on time.
On time, yeah.
In the right place, but increasingly Whereas before I would find, I'd say have a load from, let's take one of the longer roads. I collect a load out of Preston and run it down to, say, Eastbourne, which is a good day's run.
Yeah.
What I'm finding now is because the planners are shorter drivers, what they're doing is they're doing a load out of Ellesmere Port to Manchester, a Manchester to Preston, then a Preston all the way down to Eastbourne, and you're expected to do that in the same day's drive. Okay, the Manchester leg may only be a trailer swap when you get there. So rather than just running an empty or a load up to Preston, you're going via Manchester to get up there. But it adds. And it's a bit like trying to get blood out of a stone, I personally think.
Mm.
I mean, what
the thing the bit I just can't get my head around is this is the government that have set this out. The RHA, they actually tried turning this away, didn't they? They said they don't want this for us.
I think the RHA are not necessarily being our best friends at the moment as drivers. They've got a very difficult scenario. Dardy's just put up a really interesting one.
I was about to say that, yeah.
Dazz, you go into the incentives because I think you've got a better handle on this. What would you suggest if I was an employer turning to you and saying, right, come on, what do we need to do? How do we get more people involved?
Well, I mean, I'm really fortunate in the fact that, and I think most of us are that are here, or at least us three are, that we've got jobs that we love doing, that, you know, we're lucky with our employers, because they look after us. They give us a bonus for, you know, your cleaning, your night outs, everything else, that, you know, your meal allowance, things like this, which is really, really good. And then they'll not hound you all day. They'll let you get on with your work. You do what you need to do, just as long as the job's done, you know. And that for me is, see, I'm not money orientated in so much that if somebody came along to me now and said, I'll give you £50 an hour, I'd probably think, yeah, but what have I got to do for that £50 an hour? You know, whereas some people would go, ooh, £50 an hour, bring it on. You know, so it's different. I think it's different for each individual person and how you feel about your job and how you want to work. But I think those incentives, such as, you know, the meal allowance, the night out money being good, all this kind of stuff is a big bonus. And the fact that the company look after you is a massive thing for me. I mean, I wouldn't be driving if it wasn't for this company.
See, it doesn't just come down to the companies either, does it, that we're working for? I mean, as drivers as a whole, as an industry, it's the parking facilities that we've got that are near enough non-existent, and the ones that are, you're paying nearly £40 a night for just a little bit of concrete that absolutely stinks, that's just got rubbish everywhere, and no security for yourself or the load that you're carrying.
We've got an interesting scenario here. I do know that we have an issue at service stations at the moment. You're quite right about hygiene in the area, about load security, about vehicle security. But then also we've got this other side of the issue. You don't want to park in a services because, as Will's quite rightly pointed out, you're paying nigh on 40 quid, which in most scenarios, unless you're on a Snap account, drivers have to pay out of their pocket and then claim back on expenses. That's normally the way it's done.
Yeah, you can be £200 in by the end of the week.
However, the problem is twofold here. I think it's as much driver issue as it is the site's issue. As if a site was to place facilities close to the truck park that were properly maintained, so toilets, showers, etc., that were within a sensible range of the trucks, rather than, I'm just trying to think of of a service explanation. Let's look at Cobham. Most people know Cobham services. The truck park service, where you park for the trucks to go and get a shower, is a 5-minute walk. Now,
Yeah.
frankly, and Will, Daz, you'll both agree with this. You come in off a 4.5-hour shunt at 4 hours 25 minutes. You're cross-eyed, cross-legged, desperate to get to a facility. Let's put it that way. And the big issue is you've got to walk 5 minutes to go and get it. Most drivers aren't going to make that.
No.
So what do? They dive down the side of the trailer. The lorry park stinks. Therefore,
Yes.
people don't want to park there. Again,
sorry.
No, carry on, Daz.
No. This is the thing. Sorry for interrupting you. The stream's a little bit. What do you call it for me? In America, you've got closer to the actual service station. You've got like parking bays that are reserved for people. They're called premium bays. You go in there. You pay your premium money, which might be your £40 or your $40 or whatever, but you get food for that, you get a shower for that, you get close parking to the facilities, and then around the outside and generally in the middle you've got free parking. It's free parking. It's up to you. If you pay for that premium, you'll get somebody walking up and down through the night, having a look, making sure that your truck's okay, blah 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 blah. The rest, no, it's fine, but generally it's more secure. You know what I mean? It's more secure.
Sorry. Someone's just put a comment. Can you see it, Dad?
Tom, Tom, you've hit the nail on the head, or the turtle on the cloth. You're quite right. I know there's been a lot of issue, and again, this brings us back to Kent's ridiculous "let's shuttle the laybys" thing.
Yes.
And actually, Kent has got a point here. This is the flip side of the coin. Yeah, it's really inconvenient for us that they shut everything down, so there was nowhere to park, and then they made a mess with all the clamps and everything else, and destroying people's alloys and everything else. However, they've got a really good point, because the laybys were becoming unbelievably disgusting. Now, really interesting comment from Trucking Adventures. Trucking Adventures has put up, France has better services. Laybys are better in some ways. Well, I do actually know an answer to this. Most laybys on the continent have facilities in them. They may not have hot water, but they have a toilet and they have a water stream of some description. Now, my experience is a few years old now, but as I understand it, that is fairly standard across the continent where there are decent laybys on paid roads. So these are your toll motorways. Now, personally, get rid of road tax, bang the trucks on the road with a toll, put in laybys and places to stop that have toilets, that have showers, that are safe, that are patrolled. What we would spend in toll payments, you would save in lost diesel. Tom, you know all about that one. And Ashley Hale, if anybody doesn't know that one, Ashley Hale UK, he recently had an experience where all his diesel was nicked as well, and he was stuck within view of the petrol station, but couldn't get there because obviously you can't push a truck from a lay-by round to a petrol station. Although I'd pay to see that.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine someone shoving their truck down the road to go and get diesel because all the diesel's been nicked? So we're seeing
the unit's fine. It's if it's fully laden, then you've got a bit of an issue.
Well, it depends if it's a Scania with a big fridge in it that's got somebody's entire week's supplies in it.
Yeah. True.
Yeah. Oh, it was Tom that ran out, not Ashley. Oops, sorry, Tom. So, yeah, I think there's a very, very valid point here that we need to take into account that people, the facilities in the UK, we all acknowledge, and I think even the industry acknowledges, are not significant enough to be on. Now, Daz, I know there's what were you saying about industrial estates the other week, new industrial estates?
Yeah, apparently. Now, how true this is, I don't know. But apparently, according to the owner of the Red Lion truck stop, that all new build industrial estates now have to have facilities for truck drivers. They have to have parking and toilet facilities, etc., within that, so i.e. a truck stop or some other form of, parking in. However, I've been to a couple of new builds lately, and guess what?
So the cost of putting a truck stop in is pretty high, I suspect. And also with land values as we are, it's not a particularly financially viable use of the land space, especially on some of these industrial estates where they do actually need more space than what's got. I mean, you look at the land value in, say, let's take Kent, for instance, to put a 50-acre site in to allow for, what is it? How big's the Ashford site? That's 20 acres, isn't it?
I don't know exactly, right? But that is huge.
And it accepts how many trucks?
100.
If anybody knows, drop us a comment with how many trucks they hold. But the land value in that area, that's what, 10 houses, 15 houses. There is absolutely zero incentive for a landowner to put a truck park in because there's no value in it. The house prices are there. So it means that if you're going to have truck parking spaces, it's going to have to be enforced, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, look at the industrial estates. They've spent more money on double yellow lines than I think I've ever seen in my life. Most industrial estates now, you have massive areas, swaths of areas where we used to be able to park up for free in an industrial estate. Can't do it anymore because there's double yellow lines everywhere. So, but they've given us nowhere to go. And this is the crux of the problem. This was the issue with Kent. When the border was closed, there were trucks everywhere. Near all the major ports, when France closed the borders due to Rona, wasn't it? And we had trucks literally parked everywhere. They opened up an airfield. That was still not enough. An airfield, for goodness sakes. It shows the weight of freight that's being moved around this countryside. And with the driver hours being extended, that doesn't help us.
No, not at all. Yeah. No. It's more drivers we need, but there needs to be an incentive for them to come into the industry. End of.
Yeah.
I think this is the
initial outlay alone just to get your HGV license. You're talking £3,000-4,000 to go from a car to a Class 1. Between £3,000 and £4,000 for what? What are they coming into? What is there really for them to want to do it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested. Actually, there was a comment earlier. Well, I don't know if you can see it. Somebody was talking about a standard working wage per week for truck drivers. Where the heck was that? Who was it?
I don't know. I didn't actually see that.
I know somebody actually.
Keep talking. As I scroll through this lot.
I know somebody actually did a petition about this, and everybody who signed it, they got an email back saying, "Yeah, thanks, but we're not interested." And that was the government. They were saying, "No, sorry, there's no minimum set minimum wage for truck drivers. That's it. That's the end."
Good evening, Dazz. Well, we've just had a comment from Dazz the trucker. Is that right? Is that Dazz the trucker with the train? Is that right?
No.
1977? No, it's not. Is the government trying to force truckers to use services and not industrial sites? Discuss, gentlemen.
It's a very, very good question, actually. And if they are, they're going about it the wrong way, aren't they, quite frankly? How about actually making these services worthwhile using? End of. What else can I say?
Well, there's a lot of companies won't pay for the parking. My company that I work for, it's very rare that we do a night out, but if we do, we literally find our own place to park, or we pay it out of our own pocket. And let's be honest, who is actually going to pay £40 as a driver out of their own money when they're only getting £26 to £30 for the night out in the first place?
Yeah.
Exactly. I have just found that comment. It was by Peter Dyer. Thanks, Peter, for that. It's got to be well paid HGV driving for the hours and unsociable way of life. Should be paid you. Hang on a minute. Should be paid you drivers around 60k a year, plus the taxman's going to take a big cut. Okay, so with the way that driver wages are changing and new driving rules, more hours, 60k, yeah, it's possible. It's a feasible amount for some of these lads who are now on 17, 18, 19 pound an hour. I did see some of the bigger companies in the Runcorn area were advertising between 15 and 17 pound an hour with a golden handshake of £2,000 after 6 months. Now, if you were to work, let's for argument's sake, and I know I keep coming back to him, come back to Tom. If you were to work Tom's hours on £19 an hour, you're going to hit 60 grand. But then you're quite right, Peter. You are going to have Mr. Taxman come along and rip out 40% of the extra 20 grand over your 40k. So, yeah, it's not really that much more that you're earning for what is arguably a hell of a lot more work.
Mm-hmm.
So for those of you who've just joined us, we're discussing driver hours, guys. We're discussing the state of parking and access to parking and the cost of parking the facilities that we all involves ourselves in. So just to recap, Will, do we think?
Yeah.
Driving hours extension. What does the driving hours extension mean? It means that our 10-hour shifts can go to 11 hours. It means that our 9-hour shifts can go to 10 hours. And it means our bi-weekly shift has gone from 90 hours to 99 driving hours. So 99 driving hours. I'm feeling like red balloons right now. Has anybody got a pin? Oh, my days. Yeah, I think this is a bubble that's going to get burst fairly sharpish, if I'm honest.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to see.
I don't think. And did you not say that? Did you not say that it's down to the driver? So the driver has to phone up the office, and the office have to then get it cleared and say, "Yeah, okay, drive another
In
hour."
writing.
Right.
It has to be submitted in writing.
So therefore, who in their right mind is going to say, "Oh, you know what? On Thursday, I fancy doing an extra hour's driving."
Is this something that the company just opt in or opt out of as a whole? Kind of like the 10-hour night working thing. Do you opt in at the start or?
Yeah. So as I understand it, you have to write to the DFT your transport manager or transport department, depending on how your company's set up, has to inform the DFT that as a company, you will be opting in to the extended driving hours rules. It's not something that a driver can do. It must come from the management team. So they have to submit it in writing. They then get permission to do it, and then you can do it. So, yeah, Ashley, very, very, very valid point. 1.5 weeks pay for 2 weeks worth.
Yep.
That's
Evening,
the reality
Ashley.
of it. Yeah. Hi, Ash. So, yeah. Now, Dazz has just put an interesting comment through in so much that... Will, can you see that one?
Went through finance, that one?
Yeah, let's have that one up. This is an interesting scenario. Let's talk about this, guys. So Dazz has put up, I went through finance to get my license and pay back £95 a month. And if they extend the hours, then this is wrong. Yeah, I'd agree with you, Dazz. However, I want to approach that little bit at the beginning. I went through finance to get my license. That's frightening to me.
I actually done exactly the same thing.
But you know what? When I started, the first large vehicles I drove were buses and coaches, right? And I got my license through a company that were on a government incentive to get bus drivers on the road. So they would give the company £1,000 for every person that they took on, and the driver obviously got the bonus of having a license. Okay, he was tied into that job for a year, 18 months, 2 years, however long. But surely that would be another incentive to getting drivers on the road. So if the government said, you know what, here you go, companies, have an extra grand for every person you train up.
Right, let's look at the nurses scenario. Healthcare.
Yeah.
They were short of nurses. What did they do?
Bring
Massive
back retired ones.
incentives. Say again?
Brought back retired ones, didn't they?
Oh my God. I know some of the retired drivers that we'd have to deal with.
But they can drive Eatons, don't forget.
Oh my God. Can you just put this? Let's put this into perspective. Somebody that last drove a crank start Bedford TK Maxx in Dazz's Scania. To him, it'd be like, it'd be like deciding that somebody who's just learned how to ride a push bike has to go into space in the space shuttle. I mean,
question permission for takeoff, sir.
Now, Ashley's just said HGV apprenticeships.
Yeah.
Now, I do know that when I done my HGV, there was 2 of us training on the same week in the cab together. Now, the guy I done my training with, he had actually just come out of prison, and the job centre.
That's an extended rest period.
The job centre had forced him to go and do any training course whatsoever. Just go and do a training course, and they were going to get off his back for a little while without trying to push him into work. So he literally just went through the list and just went, I don't know, I don't really want any of it. That'll do. I'll do HGV driving. Which I think, to be a lorry driver, it's not something that you do just because it pays good money. I think it's a job you pick because you've got an interest in it, in the industry. Oh, Daz, you got a Scania. No, he didn't.
Yeah, you want to see it? Do you want to see it? Here's the inside.
I'm sorry, Will. I had to tweet your
There's
So
the
for those of you just catching up, Will has been a little bit jealous that Daz has got a new Scania. Well done, Ashley. Good shout. Right. So, I think there's 3 main points here. HGV apprenticeships. I personally don't think a driver should be allowed on a road until they've been out with an experienced driver. They know the pitfalls. They've got the experience under their belt of time served. A bit like an apprentice. Darren, what? I'm going to call you by your full name. You're being naughty.
I'm just going to vape here.
Oh, no. Yeah.
You'll see me.
Okay. I still want to take the last 2 letters off and put cat in front of it. Anyway, right. So, I want to put an interesting thing up here. I have just seen. I think there's a very interesting point about the HGV apprentices. Sorry, I lost my chain of thought. Let's go back to that. HGV apprentices, I think, would be great. I think somebody should be allowed to take their driving license, but then should be shadowed by an experienced driver for a minimum of a month. And I think that should be part of the completing a driving exam. Get rid of the CPC because it's, let's face it, absolutely useless. Make them have time served experience alongside an experienced driver. I do know that Tom from Acceptor Access, his company recently took on another guy. Tom and he ran together and they run alongside each other. And that was purely so Tom could actually train the other driver up in what was going on and how that company works. I think that should be an industry standard. Run 2 trucks next door to each other so that everybody gets the same level of experience. I do think that, like nurses, the training for HGV drivers should be subsidized by the government to bring new blood in, but for the younger generations. I don't think the older generation should be allowed it, because I think personally one of the problems we have as HGV drivers is our average age is going up. Dazz, you're not a spring chicken. I'm not a spring chicken, and Will, you're just young. So
Thanks.
my pleasure. So the reality of it is that these guys do need to get that under the belt experience, and the younger ones need to be brought in, and they need to be given enthusiastic training. But
there's always that question, isn't there? About we always see it as any experienced driver will see it. They'll always get asked, "I've only just passed my HGV. Where do I get the experience without going to an agency? Or where do I get 2 years experience that I need? Now I've got this license that I've spent thousands for. Where do I get that experience?" Because everyone's saying, "Sorry, you're not experienced."
Yeah, it's true, but I think it's only come along. Right, so Dazz has put up an interesting one. Guys, can you see that one?
What about
the rest period? Go on, Will.
Will they stay the same if they extend the driving hours? So rest periods are going to stay exactly the same, aren't they?
No.
No?
Actually. So the rest periods have changed. You are now allowed, if your company is signed in to the extended driving hours, it means that you can now take 2 reduced weekly rest periods. So the alternative pattern of weekly rest periods for drivers using the relaxation to relate to the weekly rest periods as follows. Well, that's a mouthful. Right. The regular weekly rest period in a 2-week period can be replaced by 2 reduced weekly rest periods of at least 24 hours. So instead of doing a 24 hours and then a 48, you can do 2 24 hours. Following this, 2 regular weekly rest periods must be taken. However, any reduction in weekly rest shall be compensated for in the normal way by an equivalent period of rest taken before the end of the 3rd week following the week in question. Now, clear as mud, guys?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Gravely. Yeah.
So let's put that into English. So what you can now do is you can have a 24-hour weekly rest period. So you've worked a week, you can then have a 24-hour period. You can then work your 2nd week and have another 24-hour period. But your 3rd and 4th weeks consecutively after have to be 48 hours. Now, does that make more sense?
Yeah, without any compensation.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Right. Yeah. So basically what they're saying is you can get absolutely knackered on the road and work more and harder and do loads more work, have less rest, and still come to work on Monday absolutely knackered.
Yes.
Yeah, effectively, yes.
I couldn't have put it better myself.
Yeah.
Well done.
Okay, so we got an interesting what's that called?
There's a good one here.
Go on, put it up. Let's have a look. We did warehouse to wheels and was great. And drivers were wet nursed for 2 months and was great. Wet nursed as a driver? Really? That's a different way to keep your coffee white. And we got 14 drivers done in a year, but government discouraged us and wanted to use apprenticeships. Okay, Daddy. So that makes infinite sense to me. Warehouse to wheels sounds like a great incentive, and that really would be a way to get drivers through.
Upgrade your current staff. Upgrade word used lightly.
Yeah. But government discourages and wanted to use. We need a bit more explanation on this one, Daddy. What's going on here? 14 drivers done. So 14 new drivers in a year is actually quite a high number. I'm impressed by that. It's not obviously massive, but it's not the 50-odd thousand we need now. Oh, we've got Chloe on as well. Hi, Chloe. Chloe's come to join us. Skip Chick, for anybody who doesn't know her. She's got a great channel. Check out hers, Skip Chick. Well, seeing as you're on the keyboard. Could you put a link up for that one somewhere in the YouTube channel somewhere? Yeah, so it's an interesting scenario, this. Seeing the warehouse to wheels. I'd love to see more people being incentivized to come through into our industry. I really would. But I think the infrastructure can't handle it at the moment. That's the reality of it. And this is us coming full circle now. Yeah, we can work more hours. Of course we can. But I tell you what, when we run out of hours and we're trying to find somewhere to stop and there is nowhere to stop, it just doesn't work, does it?
Yep.
It really,
I will say
really...
this. I will say this. I will not be extending my hours. End of. I won't do it.
No, and I think there are lots of drivers in our scenario, Dazz, who've been in our jobs for long enough. We know we work flat out. We push our hours as often as we physically can to try and add more hours onto it for effectively no extra financial compensation. I don't see the point.
No.
I'd do it if it benefited me.
Yeah. No, it doesn't though, does it? There's just it's not an answer. It's not an answer. All they're doing.
Even as a company man, it doesn't benefit the companies.
No.
It really doesn't. I personally don't believe. I think, yeah, okay, you might get a couple of extra loads through in a month, maybe. Really?
No, I think.
Do we think? I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, so where are you off to tomorrow, Dazz?
I tomorrow am going to Liverpool.
Liverpool. Hey! Yep. So you're back up into the northwest.
I am, yes.
And then you're going south, east, southwest, or Midlands next?
After that, I'll be going south.
South?
What, like Kent South?
No, that's southeast. I'll be going south.
Like Southampton.
Yeah, that sort of way. Yeah. So.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Well, Will, where are you going to be?
I need to go and pick my truck up first because that's currently in at Daft's for.
I never imagined that's broken down. It's a Daft. They don't break down.
I've got to say, I wouldn't say it's broken down. The one thing I can say about Daffy's, although they do throw up plenty, and I mean plenty of warnings, they will always start and they'll always drive you back to the yard, regardless of all the noises and bells and whistles it's making.
I think you've hit a point here. I really think about this. A DAF is your best friend.
Oh, no, I wouldn't go that far.
Makes loads of noise, gets you into all sorts of trouble, is always there beside you when you've got a problem, okay? Unfailingly makes you swear and curse at them on a regular basis. And when you least expect it, it will throw something in your path. However, they're always there. They'll always do what you ask them to. That's a DAF. Scania, oh, it's wet. My electrics can't handle it. I'm going to stop now.
There's nothing wrong with the angry chicken.
No, I've got to agree.
Yeah.
Right. Matt Lester, this is our last comment of the day, guys. Matt Lester has put fifth wheel. Are you doing more shows like this? Right, guys, if you want more shows, you have to tell us. You have to get onto the YouTube channel, get people following us, liking, subscribing, make sure the notifications are turned on. The more viewers we have, the more of these live shows, the more we'll do. If you want us to do them, you have to ask for it. Hashtag more Pete. That's not good. There's enough of me already. Not being able to do any exercise and being stuck on crutches has left me more than me I would really like to be. So, yes. Oh, well, I do believe there's a trucker wife there. Is a trucker wife going to say hello? Oh, there's a hi, I'm trucker wife. Hello. That's angry chicken.
More angry chicken.
Oh,
right.
Me.
Shall we end it then?
I think we ought to. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I think I hope we've cleared up some bits and pieces. If you need to know any more, Will, Dazz, and I are always up for answering your comments. Drop us a comment through, send us an email, check out the website. Will, check out the website. Where is it?
UK.
That's the one we want.
Should be across the top of the screen now.
Yeah, there we go, guys. Check out the website. It's here. Look, that's the one you want to check out. Check out the YouTube channel. Keep in touch with us there. Send us an email. Send us a comment on YouTube. You can find us on Facebook. Come and talk to us all. We've all got our own private channels. You've got Will on. Oh, well, that way then. Will's over there. Will, go on. What's your channel?
Trucker Will, It's a High Ab Life.
Dazz.
YouTube.com/just Dazza, D-A-Z-A.
And my channel will be released and opening. My channel will be up soon enough. And I am going to be on Behind and Beyond the Wheel. So check us all out on our own channels. My channel will be starting up. When are we going to launch it, guys? Silence.
Not tonight.
And
Not
mine's the Higher Wife.
Oh, higher wife.
Nicely plugged. Nicely plugged.
Yeah, there's a higher wife there as well. Check her out as well. Don't forget to check them all out. We'll put all of the various links in the comments below. Come and see us. Give us a comment. Send us messages. If you want us to cover a topic, especially on the lives, feel free to do so. And if you feel like joining us on a live, we always welcome guests. We'll have a laugh. Right, boys.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you very much. Cheers, guys.
See you later.
Now. See ya.
Bye.